Hey, welcome back to another video. My name is Kara Michelle and I'm here to help you live your truth. Today we are on A Course in Miracles, Chapter 2, Part 8, Lesson 15. So let's get into it. So Part 8 is called The Meaning of the Last Judgment. And this is reminding us that we did not create ourselves, and when we get really caught in the ego, we get caught up in our own abilities or really focused on ourselves, what we think we can create, what we think we can do, and how much control we think we have. And this is saying when you become egocentric, it puts you in a position where a belief in magic is virtually inevitable because we're so focused on ourselves and our abilities or whatever that we're forgetting the magic of the creation of God and of all the things that are possible and available to us. So our will to create was given by the Creator, who was expressing the same will in His creation. And so since creative ability rests in the mind, everything you create is necessarily a matter of will. So it all comes down here, again, to how we create, what we choose to create, and what we see in our lives. And then it goes on to talk about the last judgment and how this is something that is one of the most threatening ideas in our thinking because we do not understand it. And the last judgment is something that, especially when, for anyone who was brought up religiously or heard about it, like that judgment, that fear of I'm not going to be good enough, or I haven't been a good enough person and I'm not going to go to heaven, like this last judgment and all this fear and negativity and this stress around it, around not measuring up or being accepted or being approved. And it's really saying that judgment is not an attribute of God. There's no such thing as that kind of judgment and that kind of negativity. That's all the fear-based way of thinking that was created during the separation, during the chance to take away our innate abilities and our connection to God and the source. And it was taught to us so that we could be kept under control and kept under the power of people versus the universal God, source, energy. The beautiful, limitless thing that has created us would not be trying to force us to feel fear, to feel inadequacy, to be afraid of judgment and not measuring up. That was a man-made creation by people who are looking for control and power, and people who were fueling their own needs, their own income, their own level of control and level of power. So as always, it's about choosing love over fear. And it goes on to say that the last judgment is actually a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, no matter how much you may think that punishment is deserved. So punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness. And the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. And it's a process of right evaluation. So the last judgment is actually this opportunity for healing and to really, it's not this actual judgment in the way we look at the word. It's more about this real connection. The last judgment, the last opportunity to connect with ourselves, to find that healing, to find our power, to realize the impact and the connection that we have to all human beings, all living things on the planet, and to spirituality in itself and the universe and God. And having that kind of healing and that sense of right-mindedness, of knowing we are home, knowing we are good enough, knowing we belong, and there is fear has been abolished. So there is no more fear. There is no more of that negativity or that limitation. So the last judgment is frightening, not only because it has been projected onto God, but also because of the association of last with death. So like last judgment, as in like right before death, or It's really been created as this negative, fearful thing of the end, instead of realizing that here it's saying it's quite apparent that it's really the doorway to life, because no one who lives in fear is really alive. And I love that so much. No one who lives in fear is really alive. So having that last judgment is actually about connecting back to your true self, to the power, to that inner healing, to be so filled with love that you're just on this different level and you actually are alive. Whereas when you're stuck in the fear, you're not truly living. You're not truly living out your capabilities, your wholeness. You're not in your full power, right? All of these things are lacking when you're living in fear. It also says that there's not really anything to do with time. The purpose is to give you time to achieve this judgment, but it's your own perfect judgment of your own perfect creations. And when everything you retain is lovable, there's no reason for fear to remain with you. So it really is all about returning to love, as we've seen on most of these. It's about returning to love instead of fear. And as always as well, the limitations and the perceptions that we have had imposed upon us and that we've created around terminology like the last judgment and what that brings up for us in our belief systems. Well, is that actually true, or is that just a story that you've been told, and a story that has been pushed upon you and maybe created this powerful image or belief around what it means? But when we really look at it, there is no such thing as a last judgment. It's all about just that last step and that last powerful moment where you're really connected to yourself, your healing, your abilities, and living from that space. So as for lesson 15, it is, my thoughts are images that I have made. So your thoughts are what you think you think. And this part kind of was wordy. I had to read it a couple times. But you think them, and so you think that you see them. So the thoughts we're having, we think we're just thinking them, we think that that's just the truth. And therefore we also think that we see them, and we're projecting that, and we're perceiving that as well. And this is how your seeing was made. And it is not actually seeing, it is image making. And it replaces vision with illusions, because we think the thought, and so naturally we believe that that image is true. But it's an illusion quite often, based upon, again, what preconceived notions we have, what kind of thoughts have been put in our mind, what kind of belief systems we've created, what we've been exposed to growing up in our family, our society, our media, all of these things that push certain things upon us that then we think we're thinking, we think we're creating it ourselves, and then we think we're seeing it. But this is all helping you see my thoughts are images that I have made. I am creating them. I'm creating what is actually going on here and how I'm perceiving everything. And you can be certain that real vision will come quickly when you have started to understand this and you realize that you are creating what you're seeing. So you can go around with this lesson, and for this practice is to just kind of see what shows up for you, looking around the room and saying, this phone, for example, this phone is an image that I have made. This door is an image that I have made. This, whatever else you see, is an image that I have made. And just seeing what kind of perceptions come up for you, what kind of knowledge there is. And this is saying here, you might have things that, you might have these moments where these things kind of trigger you, or these big aha moments, or a light bulb, and And this is helping you wake up. This is helping you perceive and see things in a new way. So don't be worried about that, but really just examining your thoughts and what comes up for you. Because my thoughts are images that I have made. The stories we tell ourselves create images, they create beliefs, and they're all self-imposed. But like I've said many times, and like it says in here before, it's usually unconscious. We're not aware of what we're creating and what we're believing, and it feels so true because that's what we know. But more often than not, it's coming from external factors, different things outside of us that tell us these stories. We cling on to them, we continue to think them, replay them, we project them, believe them, see them, and that's what our story becomes. So give that lesson a try. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one, if you have any different thoughts. As always, it's an open conversation here. I know there are things that will click for other people or things that pick up differently, and every time you read these, I think you notice something different. So I'm just skimming over. So if you have different thoughts, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat, and I'll see you tomorrow.